To commit to a worldview like Christianity is limiting. It forces you to abide by a certain set of morals, requires you to go to church, read an ancient book, and do other rituals such as praying or fasting. You're not free to do as you please. Isn't that like slavery? Why become Christian when so many fun things are labeled as sinful? Is it really worth giving your life away to a set of beliefs that could be wrong? Today, we're going to talk about that. Hey, I'm Bailey.
Hey, I'm Michael.
And I'm David.
And welcome back to the Facing the Gates podcast. So, last time we talked about the problem of Christians.
Or, just people are terrible.
Yeah, well, it's not really. It's a problem, but it's not. I made it sound like a philosophical problem because I thought it was clever. But it's not a philosophical problem. It's just a practical issue that some Christians aren't all that great. And a lot of people see those Christians as what Christianity is. Anyway, if you want more on that, go check the last episode. Today, we're talking about the question of, doesn't Christianity enslave you? Isn't it limiting to be a Christian? Now, obviously, this is a very layman objection to Christianity, but it is a practical one that people have. So, do you think this is an issue? Obviously, the way it's phrased is a little bit childish, but
a little edgy atheist.
It is an objection that people do have, and it's obviously at the end of the list for a reason, because it's probably the least
valuable.
Yeah, it's the least serious one on the list. But yeah, what do you guys think about this one?
I mean, with any form of lifestyle or belief, it will inherently limit. Like, say I go vegan, I limit whatever I eat, whatever I consume. If I decide, I'm going to be an edgelord and join the Levian Satanist church or the Church of Set, I restrict myself to those guidelines.
So kind of like we were talking about,
even though there's no religious affiliation.
Kind of like we were talking about in the exclusivity of religious belief. All worldviews are going to have things that you should do and you shouldn't do. Just some worldviews are going to have more implicit values on what you should and shouldn't do. Yeah,
and also some rules will be more easily written out than others that are just like, you should just kind of know this.
Yeah.
It's like, don't murder people. We don't really have to have that written out. It's just, we kind of know, like, yeah, that'd be bad for all of us.
It's also a law, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Life in itself is limiting when you really boil it down. Because no matter what, you gotta have food, gotta have water, place to shit, and a place to sleep. You gotta cover those 4 basic needs. And you choose to live in a society that limits you. You gotta work 8 hours a day. You gotta contribute to the society. But you also get some freedoms that someone who doesn't live in a society wouldn't have. And vice versa. So life in itself is limiting.
Yeah.
And give me 1 second. And so Christianity limiting certain things doesn't necessarily bother me.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, I guess we're done. That's it. We've already taken care of the problem. It's not a problem. The end. End of the episode. 6-minute episode.
I mean, shit, that's how it feels.
No, I'm just kidding. We'll get into. We'll discuss it. We'll give it a fair shot, even though it's not really a problem. Which most of these problems aren't really problems for us, as we've discussed. But
we see how they could be. This one is just kind of hard to see how it could be.
Yeah.
Well, well, most people also don't think about how everything is a decision. Those decisions have repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
Be it inherently, like, well, just kind of naturally, or it builds up into, oh, yeah, now you can't do this.
Yeah, or personal versus outward repercussions.
Yeah. So, like with some of the previous episodes, I'm going to break down the claims individually and talk about them kind of one by one. So, it forces you to abide by a certain set of morals, requires you to go to church, read an ancient book, and do other rituals such as praying or fasting. Okay. About that specifically, do you have any thoughts or elaborations or objections or anything to that? Because it is like a thing. It's like, okay, well, obviously, to be a Christian, it requires something of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not necessarily say all of those at once.
Right.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, there's, like, the hermits that can't go to church, or if you're ill, you're not supposed to fast.
Right.
or in the past, people who couldn't read.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the definition of praying, because I think most people who are spiritual in any sense, in any theistic sense, are praying. They're speaking to their higher power, so that's kind of a non-point right there.
Yeah.
And fasting is, again, personal.
So, Christianity is not synonymous with moral legalism. In fact, this view is actually more akin to what Jesus condemned. As I mentioned in the previous episode, Jesus criticized the Jewish leaders in the synagogue for being zealous about their rules and ignoring why they were supposed to follow those rules. They were in place to point them to God. Jesus came as a fulfillment to the Old Testament law, which is why Christians don't all follow the rules and restrictions that Jews do. So Christianity isn't about rules. While there may be rules, these are pointing to God's intended design and reconstruction of our hearts and minds. Also, for a committed Christian, following Christ isn't so much as a chore as it is something you desire to do, at least in some ways. Now, sometimes I may not want to read the Bible or feel like praying, and sometimes going to church isn't fun, but in my opinion, Christianity isn't about what I like. It's about giving what little I can back to God, the God who loved me enough to die for me. So it's not about acting out of guilt or duty. Think about it this way. Think of someone you love, but they love you so much more than you love them. They care about you and your well-being immensely. They've been there for you forever and would do anything for you. Then one day, you get arrested for a violent crime and get sentenced to prison and life in prison. That person comes out of nowhere and says, "I'll go to prison for you instead." This person committed no crimes that warranted them being sentenced to life in prison, but they chose to take the punishment for you anyway. Now, granted, that's not possible in real life, but imagine that it is. Now imagine they don't give you a choice and they go to prison for life without you giving them the okay. How would you live your life after that? This is Christianity. Jesus paid the price whether we like it or not, and there's nothing we can change or do about it. It was the greatest act of love any human being could ever do, and he did it even for the people that hated him. So becoming a Christian isn't about doing Christian things. Becoming a Christian and doing Christian things is a small price to pay compared to the infinite price Jesus had to pay when he died on the cross. And that's my thoughts on that one. I'm not to be a little preachy guy, but you know, that is kind of like,
Yeah.
it's a thing. Anyway, I'll let you. I don't know if you have thoughts on that. We gotta.
Not really.
David, you got You guys got to give something. I got to drink so I can continue
Just
talking.
give him some ASMR.
All right, well. I don't know if it
Tasty.
picked up very much, but anyway. All right, well, if you guys don't have anything, we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just the same thing with any lifestyle where kind of any bond. There's stuff that you might not want to do, but you do it.
Yeah.
And
Like talking to your kids about sex and relationships might be awkward as hell, but you love them and you're committed to them, so you gotta do it.
Yeah.
or going to mow like your grandma's yard. You might hate yard work, but you do it because you love her.
Yeah. Does the analogy I made like make sense?
Yeah.
Is that a decent analogy? Obviously, it's not perfect,
It's
but
taking it to the extreme,
Yeah.
but it keeps it kind of.
I mean, in the
I tried to make it
spiritual
as
sense-
comparable as possible, but at the same time, no analogy is going to be perfect.
Yeah,
but,
in the spiritual sense, I think is very close because, like, yeah, you know, I died for you.
yeah.
I went to the to the idea of jail
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Well, you're just a filthy sinner.
All right. Well, the next part of this objection is you're not free to do as you please. Isn't that like slavery?
But we have free will.
And, yeah, in the theological sense, you are free to do whatever fuck you want.
Yeah.
Like,
I hear honestly.
there's no hand playing. Nope. Yep, you see that invisible wall like in video games? Yep, that's there. Can't do that.
Yeah, if you don't have
But there are repercussions.
if you don't have the freedom to do as you please, you're not in a religion. You're in a cult.
I am going to make a reference to a song. I won't say what it is, but the OGs at home will know what I'm talking about. There are very, very lame, cheap atheist objections made in songs that I hear a lot of times. One of the lines would be, "If God were real, then we'd all be free." And I'm like, are we not? Do we not have free will? Do we not have the ability to choose? We're not robots. I mean, if we are, it's we're very cleverly programmed to deceive ourselves that it seems like we're free.
But isn't that also just simulation theory? Just
Exactly. Yeah.
harkening back to
Yeah.
simulation theory. Yeah, it's like we have free will. I mean, I have the free will to be an atheist. You have free
Yeah.
will to be a good Christian boy, and
Yeah.
likewise the free will to not be decided.
And in this sense, in the greater sense, anywhere you go in this world, you're free to do what you want. But there may be repercussions, but you're free to do it.
Yeah.
You can fucking do it, mate. And
Yeah.
in the spiritual sense, you can do whatever you want, but there are repercussions
Right.
for being a fucking dirtbag.
Right.
So that's a fucking mute point. These, God.
Yeah, these
go
are-
back if that.
Give
That's
us
right.
some-
Go back to the way beginning of this series. Free will, fun episode.
Yeah. Kind of like what we were saying already. By definition, any worldview is going to be limiting. See your episode, Exclusivity of Religious Belief, for more on that. So if you choose to become an atheist or agnostic, that limits you as well, just in a different way. Atheism doesn't allow for the belief in supernatural and essentially commits you to philosophical naturalism, the belief that all that exists is the material world. Agnosticism doesn't require you to pick and choose, which can be a pro and a con. But either way, both limit an individual in terms of what you are allowed to do and believe. And the same thing is true, of course, of Christianity. So, if being a Christian is like being enslaved, so is virtually every other worldview. If it isn't
Not
Christianity,
virtually every other worldview.
yeah. If it isn't Christianity, it's something else.
It's kind of like I like to say when talking to people like about how anarchy would work.
Mm-hmm.
Even our anarchy, there are rules. They might not be written,
Right.
but there are rules.
Yeah,
So what every worldview, there'll be rules and limitations.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Checkmate, anarchist.
And you edgy fucking atheists out there.
Yeah.
Checkmate.
So, if you're not quote unquote enslaved to Christianity, you're enslaved to something else, because we're all religious by nature. If you're not enslaved to Christ, then you're enslaved to something else. You'll immortalize or idealize something or someone else that is by nature limited. You'll craft together a philosophical or political ideal and uphold them with religious devotion. It's just human nature. And that's, I think, that harkens back to a theme that we've kind of been teasing out, is ultimately, like I mentioned, we're all kind of religious in some way or another. We just may not call it a formal religion. We do have a devotion and thing or person that we put our hope and faith into as if it were a religion.
Yeah, like people do with politics.
Yeah. All right, I guess I'm going to keep going if we don't have any other... we all basically agree on this.
Yeah,
So.
that's kind of a problem we've all figured out. I was like, we kind of agree on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Even if we don't necessarily believe it, the math works out.
Yeah.
It's kind of been like a bonding where, like, what most of America needs is just like, hey guys, look, we all agree more than we disagree. And when we disagree, it's not that big of a fucking deal.
Now just give each other a nice big hug and a nice little kiss on the cheek.
Don't listen to David. He goes to Fever 333 concerts.
I've never been to.
What was that? What was that one band that like hugged everybody or wanted everybody to like get in a circle and?
That was a Fave? No, Live.
Oh yeah, plus Live plus whatever. That's a terrible band name.
They showed up late.
Showed
and then
up
we
late.
Saw Motionless in White.
They're like get in a circle, hug each other, and like.
And it was just a bunch of like frat dudes.
Anyway, that was an
with
adventure.
dad guts.
Completely
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah.
We were there to see another band, and they were there. We had to wait.
I mean,
on them
I just named the band.
Yeah. Anyway, no, we were there to see the band after them. We just.
Yeah, Motionless in White.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a completely unrelated thing. It's just
Filler content.
Yeah, padding. So, also this objection is contingent upon our definition of freedom. As the philosopher Isaiah Berlin explains, we have positive and negative freedom. When we in America typically think of freedom, we think of what he calls negative freedom, or the freedom to do anything within our capacity. For example, I have the negative freedom to go to the gym, eat some food, or stop recording this episode and go home right now. It is a lack of restrictions. But positive freedom is much different. Berlin describes this as what you are free to become, to find your passion or purpose in life. Under this definition, someone who graduates college has more positive freedom than someone who has dropped out because they are more prepared to self-actualize their dreams. And this is precisely the freedom that Christianity offers, an existential need fulfillment greater than any other. So to be free from Christianity is really negative freedom, one that desires to seek out positive freedom in something or someone else, and to inevitably be enslaved to that other person or thing. The question is, why put your eternal trust into someone or something that can let you down? That was a very sassy head roll at David. I don't know if that picked up on the mic, but
Yeah, it probably did.
Bro, they probably heard that hair just...
Yeah. It's like a torpedo. You guys gotta like give me something.
I'm sorry.
I'm just blasting through this episode.
I thought that was the end of that note. I'm already thinking about the next question.
I'm still just processing, like, because as I'm like, what the hell? Is he having like a neck spasm or something?
No.
A little cramp in the neck?
No. I'm just saying, a lot of people don't put a lot of thought into, and a lot of people, to be fair, aren't conscious of the fact that they're kind of transcendentalizing something that is limited, like people that put their faith in politics. Like, these are human beings that are going to fuck up inevitably at some point.
And then our government will come down, a new one will be built, and our politics are gone for the history books.
And even in quote unquote science, because it's done by humans.
Yeah, people do that with science and politics.
And then new science will come out and prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Or there'll be one person who manipulates science and goes, hey, you know, these vaccines have this ingredient that causes your kid to be autistic.
No, I could see
and then tries to sell some
stuff
that
like
doesn't have it.
The improvement of, say, science or like understanding of history more fruitful in that regard, because it's something steadily onward. It will be basically, it's an internal search of knowledge.
Well, I'm not saying it's bad to have faith in these things, but you have to have a proper place for them.
Yeah.
Because if you make that the thing, ultimately, if you make that your God in a way, which, I mean, people that I would say that are doing this wouldn't use that language, but if you were to, I guess, probe them about it, that's essentially what they're doing. And if you were to make them aware of that, why would you do that? Because why would you have that much faith in something that is human, finite, and will inevitably fail? Go ahead with what you're going to say. That's basically it.
They use it as their end-all, be-all.
Yeah.
Just like some Christians use God as the end-all, be-all. And in those senses, it's just the fucking cop-out. Just like if you ask someone about something and they go, oh, you know, God, just God, and don't give any description, it's just a cop-out, because, you know.
No, unless you're a person like Aleister Crowley and just love when chaos happens, then you want the demise and downfall. Dude was a nutcase.
All right, well, I guess we'll go on to the next one. Why become Christian when so many fun things are labeled sinful? I know about 1 million people that will make this objection, at least jokingly, but at least halfway seriously at the same time.
We all joke about it.
Yeah. I mean, we joke about it, but some people are serious.
No, I mean, I get, because especially when it comes to certain things that are deemed like, more natural. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, I get your point. But also, a lot of religion is more so, with stuff like that, more so about self-control and the aspects of the delayed gratification. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of the quote-unquote sinful acts are more instant.
Impulsive.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
First off, with Christianity especially, there's disagreement in some circles on certain things, if they're sinful or not, you know, like cursing, drinking,
right,
things like that. So, if you're going to use that, you got to get fucking specific.
Heck, there's nuns that grow weed. Yeah,
there's nuns that grow weed. And on top of that,
but either way, there are a lot of things that, you know, you're missing out on a lot, dude. If you become a Christian, you can't do a lot of cool sinful things that you know, it's a sin now.
Well, heck,
no man's perfect.
I'm not.
Shoot, half the Christians I know go drink a 12-pack on Saturday, go to church on Sunday,
with a fat lip and dip in their mouth,
go to work Monday through Friday, and then volunteer.
I mean,
it's a problem if you make it, because all men are sinful. It's just the growth to be free of sin.
Right.
You don't have. No one's gonna be perfect in church. Everybody's got their demons.
I mean, and how even if you have the opportunity to do some of those things that are sinful, you might just not do it. As I like to, with like certain discussions, as I say, like, I could go do heroin right now. It doesn't mean I want to do it.
Yeah, different people have different inclinations towards certain things.
Yeah, different predispositions.
Like, I'm not particularly inclined to kill someone, so that's not really on the list of things that I would do. But there are other things that would be quote-unquote sinful that I might be inclined to do.
Oh hell yeah, brother!
So it's more of a everybody's journey is different. Everybody's made differently, and
The main
all
thing
that
is just
cliche
moderation.
jazz.
The moderation for killing people is 0.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless they're trying to kill someone you love or you. Then.
Unless they're a Canaanite.
Unless
And
they're
God said it's
encroaching your
okay.
territory.
Yeah. All right. So this question, I think, reveals a little bit more about the questioner's perception and understanding than anything else. Not everything becomes a sin when you become Christian. Christianity upholds the virtue of self-control, like David was mentioning. See the book of Proverbs for basically that in a nutshell, as opposed to what our culture would see as a virtue, such as instant gratification. Yes, there are many things that are sinful that the world wants to sell you as normal, but Christianity is about adopting a new normal. And also, Christianity is not nearly as limiting as other worldviews. It doesn't tell you what kind of music to listen to or genre of movies you can like, or whether or not you should play sports, etc. Christianity doesn't force you to become a monk in order to attain salvation. In all honesty, Christianity is a fairly open worldview that allows you to do quite a bit with your life. Now, of course, these good things, such as music, movies, sports, etc., can be corrupted by sinful aspects or intentions, but that doesn't mean that those things themselves are sinful. And when we look to Christian concepts such as the story of the Garden of Eden or Platonius's privation theory of evil discussed in the Problem of Evil episode, it makes sense why otherwise good things can become corrupted and immoral.
So
yeah,
the
plus,
main thing's moderation.
and if you're going to use this logic, you're also using logic that, you know how on the packages of things, so like, this product has a chemical known to cause cancer in the state of California.
In California, it's like California -19.
It's like imagining that those chemicals only cause cancer in California because, something fucking changes over there. No, it's the same throughout.
Yeah.
And there's also like different cultural reasons for why some things might be labeled sinful. As we spoke previously, back in the day, pork was not a good meat to eat, so what religions don't eat pork to this day?
Judaism
and
Islam.
Yeah. So there's
Ding, 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 ding.
there's also those cultural reasons which could be discussed and broken down, but it's all about learning about the context.
Yeah.
And but about the only few, and there are some Christian sects that do limit a lot, like Jehovah's Witnesses, and then for more fringe, Amish and Mennonites.
Or any group that's fasting. They'll fast different things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's food, sometimes it's not. Depends on the group, but
Sometimes you pick something.
Giving something up for Lent.
yeah.
That's what I was reaching for.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to use that logic, got to use it for everything else, too.
Yeah, the whole argument is kind of a very hedonistic argument.
Childish.
That it's like, I want to do what I want. I don't want to conform to... It's basically, I'm not ready to be a good Christian boy, so I'd rather just not become Christian at all.
Well,
That's kind of the
just
objection.
that, but really be a decently balanced human being, because playing straight purely into hedonism.
I'd rather do drugs and have sex and listen to that rock and roll music, though.
It's like, cool, just do it in moderation. Stop jerking off about it. Because
or hey, bud,
that's
you're
one
kind of
thing.
addicted to crack. I
One
can
thing
help
with
you.
hedonistic ideals, it's like too much of a good thing's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
As I always like to think, it's not about what it is, it's about how much of it turns into a poison.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can take 2 Tylenol to help with your headache. Take 20, it'll be your last damn headache.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the last part here. Is it really worth giving your life away to a set of beliefs that could be wrong? I'm sure Michael's got some
I mean,
thoughts on
no,
this. Michael and
but
David.
but it's
Hold on,
up
you
to the
said,
person.
Hold on, you said no? I missed what you said
Yeah.
before.
It-
Okay.
If you think they could be wrong, don't. Because, I mean, you think they might be wrong. But if it's coming from, like, the perspective of someone else, like, oh, you might be wrong. It's like, then you're just kind of being a dick about it. If you're just being that blatant.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I could ask you the same question. You're like, but to me, it's right.
Yeah, well, I'll put it in this phrase, in this kind of setup. Technically speaking, yes, I could be wrong. All of this evidence that I put forth in previous episodes, I could be deceiving myself. I could be insane. I could, you guys could be an illusion. There could be all kinds of things that could make me potentially wrong. But up to this point, to me, the bulk of the evidence points towards Christianity being true. So I have more reason to believe that Christianity is true than to not. So in any worldview that you choose, there is the possibility, however slim or big you make it is up to you, and based on your confidence and what you've done your homework on, that will change. But any worldview is going to have a doubt that you could be wrong, obviously. But for me, it's like, I don't think that I am wrong, so it's not.
like studying for an exam.
It's like for you, you're like 97% you're right. But then there's that little 3% that's like, maybe not.
Yeah.
But you do some more research, you might wax wane. Well, yeah, I was just saying it kind of like the most blatant terms, but you also do have to take in, kind of like in some of my securities classes, there's a thing called the risk appetite for companies.
Yes.
And it's like, how much do we want to risk that this happens and we lose this much money, this much time, and the business could fail?
Yeah, you're putting it is a big risk.
Yeah.
But also, it's not at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, let me just go ahead and put it this way, because I did, one time I asked my mom this when I was way younger.
That's small, Bailey.
Yeah, I asked her basically, what if you're wrong and there is no God? Her answer was pretty simple, and it's essentially Pascal's wager, but she didn't know that. So she said, basically, if I die believing in God and there is no God, I would lose nothing. But if I die not believing in God and it turns out that there is a God, I would risk everything. Something along those lines is what she said.
Oh, good old Pascal's wager.
Yeah. What are you going to say?
Watch our previous episodes.
Yeah.
To me, if it's something you believe, you're going to do it regardless or not if you're giving your life away because it's something you believe in.
Right.
So how are you giving something away if you're going to do it anyway? That's like saying, oh.
So you're saying even if you weren't going to become Christian, you would be giving your life away in a different way? Is that what you're saying?
Well, how I'm thinking of this, there's someone asking this in like a kind of rhetorical sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, look at you just giving your life away. It's like,
Oh, gotcha.
Just because you think that doesn't mean he is. Because it's something he believes in, and no matter if you think he if his beliefs end up being wrong, he's still going to do it because it's something he believes in.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, and
that's just a really asshole thing to say to someone. It's like saying, oh, since you believe murder's wrong, you're just giving your life away. That's when I look at religious beliefs, I see them that ingrained in somebody.
Yeah, well, I obviously these are like the most
outlandish
arguments I could come up with, but there are people that do talk like this.
Yeah, I know, and I can imagine them in my head.
Yeah, but I to at least try and be charitable is, people, I guess, it is a risk to commit to Christianity and a certain way of living when you could not do that, and you could be I don't know, I don't want to get into specific stuff, but I mean, like, there's certain things that the rest of the world, the secular world, is going to say, this is totally fine, this is normal, and when you become Christian, you're kind of divorcing yourself from things that are called sin. So that's limiting to some people, obviously, and that could be, I guess, just a turnoff for a lot of people. I might be being redundant, but yeah, I don't know. It's obviously not a good objection, but
I think that's why we're all being so short-worded on it, because it's like,
Yeah.
to attack someone's core beliefs is just,
yeah,
and say you're just giving your life away because of your core beliefs. It's like walking up to a kid like, hey, just because you believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and that your parents are like superheroes, you're just giving your life away, kid. You're 2. It's like, fucking asshole.
I mean,
Let people believe what they believe in, because whether you let them or not, they're going to do it.
and if you happen to have a moment like that where it's like more leaning towards not, take a minute. Just take a minute, and if you do your research, if you still, whichever way you decide, you did some research into it, you learned something.
yeah,
And it's like, the key thing is, it's with the idea of giving your life away. It's like, yeah, I mean, it kind of is.
You give your life away to a job, give your life away to having kids, buying a house, fucking
It's not really giving your life away. It's just a commitment.
giving your life away to charity, to your dog. Like,
yeah,
no, you're just making a commitment. It's not giving away. You're just committed.
You're just locking down that 40-year mortgage with the old G-Man up there.
yeah.
Shoot, I'd be lucky to get a 40-year mortgage at my age.
So I kind of mentioned this already earlier, but just to kind of wrap up this part, in the end, I might be wrong about my beliefs, but so might you. I think there's more at risk, namely eternity, by not putting your eggs into any basket. No one will have the absolute certainty with their beliefs. We all have to take a leap of faith at some point, and whether that is towards belief or disbelief in God, both require faith. I think I've put forth a decent case for the existence of God with our first series, and a positive case for Christianity with our second series, and a defensive case for Christianity with this series. From my perspective, belief in Christianity is completely warranted and makes sense of the world effectively. And as we will likely discuss in an upcoming episode, I feel like I have all the reason to be Christian based on what I presented in the episodes up to this point, and no reason to not be a Christian or to be an atheist.
Yeah. I mean, also, like, a lot of, like, the kind of ideas we've talked about recently, it could be applied to having any religious belief. Because, I mean, you know, some edgy atheist is just going to copy paste the same thing in a shitty forum.
Yeah.
Or on Reddit.
And then you could say the same thing to that atheist about fucking anything they believe in, and then you're the asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's more like just we're just calling these things out on their bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because me and David have objections towards religion, but none of this is fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like a broken damn record.
Well, like I said, the good ones came first, and then they slowly got worse as we went along. But obviously, this series of episodes has not been entirely comprehensive of all the possible objections ever. These are just the major ones and the ones that I think could use answers to.
Like the pop music of them.
I guess. Yeah, sure. Top 40 problems of, whatever.
Problems of religion.
It's like teen bop, which is,
Oh,
above
no.
kids bop. We're not quite at contemporary music yet.
Contemporary bops.
Gross. Anyway, I guess as we're wrapping up this episode, we're technically wrapping up this series of episodes on objections to theism and Christianity. Basically, like I was saying, is these aren't all the objections ever. These are just the ones that I think should be responded to. There are others that we may discuss later because they tie in with other themes that just might be better saved for other episodes, like politics, for example.
Like a whole ass list of them.
But
maybe y'all can give us some good ones.
Yeah, but a bunch of the objections I've heard are just really lame objections like this that could be answered very simply.
Yeah.
So that being said, out of these episodes that we've recorded, the objections to theism and Christianity, which one has any of them held any weight to you, I guess? And if so, why?
And
Have any of them not been answered adequately, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
in my viewpoint and my beliefs, I don't have the whole fucking list in my memory. Shit. But there's that.
I'll list them off because for some reason I've got photographic memory on this.
Damn. Hit me with it, chief.
The problem of evil, the problem of divine hiddenness, the doctrine of hell, is the God of the Old Testament immoral, exclusivity of religious belief, the problem of Christians, and does Christianity enslave you?
I just feel like we need to bully the shitty people more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of it,
Do any of those...
none of them really hold much weight because, as an outsider looking in, if it's not, one of the Christian-specific ones, all of the religions are going to have that.
Yeah.
And even personal belief systems are going to have random shit that someone might not agree with. But that's where it's your job to look into this and get an understanding of the religion and talk with somebody like Bailey.
Like someone's gonna
and just sometimes you just need to shut up and listen.
Yeah.
And you'll find out that at the end of it, most of these problems aren't a problem because we see shit very similarly.
Yeah, I mean, people can fuss about how to tie the proper way to tie shoelaces or stupid stuff like that. So there's always going to be complaints and grievances regardless of whatever subject matter.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
it's kind of our nature. But also, having these kind of objections can help breed a better conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And that's largely why I wanted to cover them, because I think even if they're not good, some of them aren't the greatest objections, they do lead to good conversation. And
yeah, and I mean, and like one thing...
And thinking things out for people that may or may not have already thought those out.
Is learn apologetics.
Yeah.
Which not a lot of people know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of it...
And regardless
of... It's a godsend. You Christians need to... You Christians, you need to learn apologetics. It'll save you in a pinch.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you either believe or you don't. I mean, I'm not... If someone believes in their religion like Bailey does, I'm not going to shake them with any of these because they have a fucking answer.
Yeah, son.
And even if I go, oh, well, it's a problem for me. Well, guess whose only problem it fucking is? Mine.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of it, it's not a major fucking problem. But if you want to look for something and see that it's not a problem or it's a problem that everything shares.
Yeah.
You can fucking do that and stop being closed-minded.
Well, that's why a lot of these are typically atheist objections, is because they can be applied to all world religions. Therefore, none of them's right. Right?
Yeah.
Right? In theory.
You're not being exclusive with your decision.
Yeah.
If you're going to bully a religion, choose one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much easier because we can
And,
point out
and let me know
shortcomings of all of them.
why it's Mormonism.
Yeah, so, and this may be tangentially related, but I'm pretty certain, at least I remember early on in the episodes, like of early on in the show, I think your biggest issue, if I were to codify that into one of these episodes that we recently covered, it would probably be mostly the problem of Christians. But as we covered that episode, you're like, it's not really that big of an issue anymore. Is that like your biggest issue or objection, or is that like a different rabbit trail on what that objection or objections may be?
It would still be my largest objection, but I'm going to say that about any organized religion, is that the people in it, and well, some of the people in it and a lot of the people in power,
Yeah.
or in perceived power, aka media attention, whatever,
Yeah.
are causing tremendous damage. And
You can say that about anything, though. You can say that about
and that's
political
what
parties, for that matter. So it's anecdotal, really.
Yeah.
Not to shit on your problems, but
I think that's my biggest thing with organized religion. And I used to tie that primarily to Christianity because that's what I saw. But now I'm kind of forming the group where it's like, hey, it's not just them, it's
It's
all
just
of them
everybody.
have these issues.
yeah.
And even the atheists who get together and jerk each other off in a circle once a week,
Flying spaghetti monster.
they have their fucking issues too.
Someone actually pulled that one.
What, the flying
The flying spaghetti
Yes,
monster.
they do that.
I mean, it was a funny little satire, but then people like started jerking off over it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, the people putting colanders on their head find it funny. You being edgy about it, it's not funny.
Nobody knows what we're talking about, but it's not important because it's an inside joke. We know what we're talking about. It's funny. All right.
Or as I say, ramen.
Okay.
And also, I think the biggest issue with me is just belief.
Gotcha.
And so,
Well,
my issue with the
Okay.
organized religion is the people in it.
right. But that
I don't-
also could be a problem with
Any organization.
yeah, exactly.
Or to like, therefore off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why I view religion very, very individually and spiritually, and try to find my guidance through that instead of through other people.
Yeah, and to be fair, belief or disbelief, there's a lot of components to it. There's an intellectual component, there's an emotional component, there's a mental component. There's all kinds of things that can be barriers of entry that may not necessarily be intellectual. Hopefully, at least with these episodes, I've kind of broken down the intellectual barriers, so that's not that major of an issue. But that's not going to magically, you're not a brain on a stick. You're not just going to magically become Christian when I have answers for all your questions. So,
and I
for
think
people out there, that are having conversations like this with other people, don't expect people to change their beliefs overnight because you answered their questions effectively or not effectively.
Bailey's still a Christian. Michael still don't know. And I'm still a filthy atheist.
Yeah, but what it does is it creates these conversations and helps us understand why we disagree with something, or why, hey, at the end of the day, we all believe very similar shit. So knowing that now and kind of having certain aspects broken down allows you to point out, hey, maybe it's a mental thing, maybe it's a spiritual, whatever. So you can tune and you can find where you truly fit in and where you belong easier, because then you're able to do that outside.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's go ahead and give our final thoughts about this. Just in general, this whole series or this episode or whatever, if you have anything else you want to add.
This episode felt like it was hell.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Dan, it's not
such a-
you.
Well, it's just us bullying.
It is a lame-
That's just bullying the edgy atheist.
Yeah.
This whole series is us just bullying the edgy atheist.
Yeah, it's funny because, You know, you would think if anybody were going to agree with any of these arguments, it would be David. But David's like, these aren't good.
Well, I mean, I don't mind like most.
And it really takes out the human component.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind most religious people or most religions. And it's like, I just don't believe.
Yeah, gotcha.
And it's like, just don't be a dick. That's my number one. Number one thing to ask, just don't be a dick.
Gotcha.
But if you, and so for atheists, being a dick, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also like these like play in the very common like logical fallacies.
And if they actually wanted an answer to them, they could politely have a conversation. And
Some of them do.
And not
and
use
some
it,
of them think they're good arguments, especially the problem of evil.
and not use it as ammunition, but use it as a, hey, this is something that I see. Can you explain it more from your view so we can get a better understanding? No, they usually use it as a, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, you don't know the atheist YouTube.
Well, it's also like, for example, sin. Like they might not call it sin, but it's like
They have a
something-
category for it that they just
something
that they label something, but
something
they may not call it
morally
sin.
or culturally wrong
Right.
is a sin.
illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a sin. That them daggum marijuana's sin.
Straight to hell.
Gun.
Going to heck.
You smoke three, you
Fully,
die.
fully automatic weapons.
It's probably
Sin.
It's gonna be sin.
But it's hell.
No, they are sin.
It is.
Unless you pay the government $200 tax stamp and it's pre-1987. A fully automatic is a sin.
I'm just gonna trust you on that because I don't know. So
I'm right.
Michael's probably telling the truth. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Somebody fact check him. I don't know.
Same for silencers. It's only a sin if you don't pay the government their $200 for that silencer.
Wow.
So,
All right.
so what we're saying is we just need to call like every religion and lack of religion of all the shitty people. And
Yeah.
we might be able to live in peace and harmony. But that would be a utopia. And that would get boring.
All right. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Upcoming, we've got some very special things coming up, but I'll save that for now.
Some spicy content.
Yeah, so actually the next 2 episodes we're going to do is kind of an off, I guess a one-off, 2 off technically episodes. They're foil episodes. They kind of play off of each other. So we're going to take a break in between our major series to do those episodes. The next one, this next episode is going to be Why Atheism is Absurd. And the other one...
I mean, it kind of is.
You heard it here first.
Especially once you get into more existentialist train of thought and an atheist mindset.
And then the other one is going to be Where Christians in America Have Failed. So one shits on the atheists and the other one shits on the Christians. And that's going to be like the part 2 of the problem of Christians that we were talking about before.
And we're just going to bully them.
And we're all going to square up. They're going to be great conversations. You should listen to them.
The agnostics enjoy both.
Or we just bully the...
Don't worry, we'll get to you.
Yeah, we got a secret episode. You're not invited.
Yeah. We're going to talk shit about you behind closed doors.
Oh, but you need me to add fuel to the fire, so...
No. We're going to make you listen after. And then it'll be great. Anyway.
We're just going to waterboard you in like some Dr. Pepper or something.
I was going to waterboard him.
Dr. Pepper. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, the agnostics.
And then your face will be sticky and gross.
But I'll catch some in my mouth and I won't have to get up the drink. And you got to spend a lot of money on Dr. Pepper.
No, he's just got to recycle the same Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. I'll have a little pump going.
Bro, I'll stretch my tongue up there somehow.
Please stop. All right, well, that's the end of this episode. We have rambled on about garbage, but hopefully it was entertaining, enlightening, whatever.
Yeah.
Something. Please. Hopefully I've gotten something out of this.
Get your Roni shots too, everybody.
Yeah, get your
Roni shots.
Get your Roni shots now. They don't give you
The 5Gs.
They don't give you 5G.
I
right?
wish they did. I'd have a lot better cellular connection.
Homeboy's got I've got the vaccination, and I'm not cursed or glowing or anything yet.
I'm halfway
But-
there.
Yeah.
And I'm terrified of needles. I'm a little bitch when it comes to
David's
shots.
gonna be getting his soon. Join the club.
Yeah.
what's it called? Bandwagon. Get on. If you want to be cool, like Facing the Gates podcast, get your COVID vaccine.
If you believe in God, get your own vaccine.
If you don't believe in God, get a COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
If you do believe in God, get a COVID vaccine.
This isn't one of them religious issues. Just get a fucking COVID vaccine.
Anyway, all right, we're done. Thanks for listening. Follow us on social media, Facing the Gates, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Email us at facingthegatespod@gmail.com for comments, questions, concerns, any other things. That's it. Thanks. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been real fun.
Bye.
Goodbye.